Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, and tonight we're going to be discussing Monday Night Raw for December 5th, 2016. With us, as always, we've got Wrestling Inc.'s own Giri and Mr. Matt Morgan back on the podcast tonight. How's it going, Matt?
Doing good, guys. Sorry we missed you last night. Watched pay-per-view for no reason.
That wasn't a reward enough in itself? Seeing James Ellsworth involved in interfering in a title match on a pay-per-view?
I did like AJ's. Anything AJ's in, I'll watch though. So at least I got to watch his match. But
that match, that match was fantastic.
It was.
Yeah, definitely.
Until the Ellsworth run.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. So today we're going to talk about Monday Night Raw. It was an interesting episode. Some subplots with shades of the Attitude Era. Had some new matches set up. Really kicked off the momentum heading into Roadblock. But before we dive into things, just want to remind everyone that this episode of the Wrestling Inc. podcast is brought to you by WWE Slam Crate, powered by Loot Crate. Tag into a bi-monthly box for the WWE Universe, loaded with exclusive and authentic collectibles, plus apparel that you can't get anywhere else. Save $3 off your first box at lootcrate.com/wrestlinginc when you sign up and use the coupon code WrestlingInc. That's lootcrate.com/wrestlinginc. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. So let's talk about tonight. I guess, the first segment is as good a place as any. So what did you think, Matt, of that tonight that we saw the return of Big Show in that setup between Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, and then turning into a match between Seth Rollins and Big Show?
Big Show's just, what he's there for, use as a stepping stone for other guys, other storylines to advance. Exactly what it needs to be used for at this point. Who cares? No offense to Big Show.
He looked in great shape, though.
Yeah.
He always looks in great shape when he comes back because his fat ass works out finally when he's home.
But his chest looked like twice the size of his stomach. I mean,
I hope so. A guy that big, I'm hoping his health is on the up and up.
It was strange that they had Seth Rollins bring up the Triple H stuff tonight in that promo before the Big Show match. It's like they'd completely forgotten about it for 2 weeks, for 2 months, and just randomly bring it back up. So that was, I know why they're doing it now. They got to get those gears back in motion. Monday Night Football is ending, so that means Triple H will probably be coming back shortly after that. Monday Night Football ends at the end of this month. I did want to mention, did you guys hear that? I think they've done this for SmackDown before, but that little recap they had at the beginning of the show.
Oh, the soap opera-esque previously on Monday Night.
Yeah, what the hell was that? That voiceover was just awful. It sounded like it would be for a soap opera, I guess.
They've done a couple of them in recent months, but it's sporadic.
Yeah, it's cheesy as hell.
Definitely. Well, and I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but do they have to keep reminding us everything that happened? Along last week, 2 weeks ago, but then even throughout the show. Tonight, how many times did we see the same clip of Charlotte and her dad going back, just hitting it again and again? Do people have that short of attention spans?
Yes, they do.
It was a bit much, man. But by the last time they recapped that, Charlotte kicking Ric Flair out, I was like, man, I'm just get this over with.
Yeah, I started muting it by the last time. I was like, I can't hear her poorly sing again. One
thing I did like, though, about bringing up Hunter is because I still think that's his Mania match, obviously. Seth was. I'm all for them starting, like you said, the gears. Start turning the gears in that direction. Even though it's very early, usually wait until the post Raw after a Rumble. Still, I think that's a big match and it's going to help Seth. So anything to get him from not looking like an idiot and not looking like a babyface should, I think Hunter will be good for him for that.
I just think they could have kept it alive a little bit over the last couple of months instead of dropping it almost completely and then just randomly bringing it back in. You could have had him calling Hunter out here and there, and Hunter just never showing up or doing something to just not drop it completely and just make it seem like it was a complete afterthought. And then
I think it's one of those things, Raj, where if he can't be there and contribute, you know what I mean? Because they did it for a reason. Because he's such a big star, they're not going to have him come every other week. What do you do with that? Just have him keep calling out a guy who doesn't show up? Or, I think everybody knows he got screwed over. Nobody's forgotten that.
Or you do a different angle and you wait till Triple H can actually appear on TV before you shoot, before you go that way. But anyway, that's at least they're going back to it.
Two things. And for people, Matt, I know you've been playing WWE 2K17. Did that remind you, or especially anyone in the chat that's been playing the game, when Seth started his promo, so much like directly out of the game with, hey, I just want to get something off my chest here. It was very much like the template in the game where you're just picking the random generic things you say in a WWE promo. I thought that was crazy. But I wanted to ask you, Matt, so you brought up a good point with Big Show looking better, having time to get in shape. When you're on the road and you're touring with the grind, of a WWE superstar schedule, is your goal just to sort of maintain? Is it hard to make real gains when you're keeping that schedule?
Yes, I know that's what I always did. Yes, I just try to keep what I had. You got to bust your ass in the gym to still do that, though. And make sure you get your meals. And that's the hardest part of being on the road, is making sure you can still find ways to eat clean. Yeah. It's a pain in the ass when you're driving 5 hours. Those guys, it's not all luxury, people, fans out there. It's not luxury. You fly into a major city, and then you drive 3 to 5 hours to the next town. Again, 3 hours the following day to the next town, 2.5 hours to the following town, and then reroute it and come all the way back again and fly out.
And you're trying to
do a pain in the ass.
6 meals a day?
And trying to do 6 meals a day. You're going to Wendy's and eating grilled chicken breast sandwiches, and that's about as clean as you can get it if you don't have time. And that's not what I'm eating now, for instance. It's tough. The eating is the hardest part.
And when they send you to these towns, do they give you recommendations of gyms to go to, or do they have weights backstage? Or
that's a good question. They have gyms obviously in every town, but the boys all somehow always know, or there's some independent worker, or there's some mark that lives in the town that's at the airport saying, hey, you need to go to Ironclad Gym in Altamont Springs, Florida. Crap like that. Every single city you go to, you'll never not have a gym. That's good. That's the cool part of it, at least.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, there.
You want to hear something real quick? But in New York, Zack Ryder's dad was the guy who would give all the boys the hookup to come work out at his gym. I don't remember the name of it. I forget it. But when I worked Zack Ryder in his very first dark match, not dark matches, he was an enhancement talent at the time. It was his very first match. He was 19. And I was doing my stuttering character at the time. And talking to him, I was like, hold up. So that's your dad who always lets us come to the gym? He's like, oh, yeah, my pops always let you come and, says you guys are more than welcome tomorrow. So, that's an example, for instance, of how, we find gyms. It's weird.
No, definitely. See, I'm fascinated by that stuff. Or just even, what was that, on the episode of Table for Three, New Day talking about how, they use Hotwire for all their hotels because they want to book it, but they want the discount because they're paying out of pocket for their own stuff. Yeah. I'm surprised there's no travel agent that just caters to serving wrestlers.
When you first get on the road, when I first started, they gave me and Nathan Jones, probably because we're idiots, but they gave us a set of training wheels where they gave us a hotel, rental. They had everything done for us for the first 3 months. And then after that, you're on your own.
Wow.
You have to pay for your own rental car, your own hotel, figure it out. So it's good. It's good to want to if you can get into a car with a veteran, that's when it comes in handy. But then you got to listen to a bitch and be bitter the whole time too. So it depends. You got to get a good veteran,
Yeah. But to what you were saying about working out, though, that makes sense with Big Show. So that's really why, that explains why when we see guys come back from a break, sometimes they have this dramatic physical transformation because they can really focus on it.
Big Show has been working live events and stuff, though. He just hasn't been on TV.
I have to say tonight, he had a little more agility to him, and I actually felt like he was a little more menacing than he had been in his previous incarnation. I think, I don't want to use the term Oafy, but, he had the giant look before, right? And tonight, I think with that leaner, I don't know. To me, that was the most credible I've seen Big Show look in the ring in a while.
And did that count as another Big Show heel turn and face turn, or was he just pretty much a face?
Yeah.
Big Show's Big Show at this point. Hey, but you know what? There were no please retire chants that were audible. So the crowd was as into it as they have been for him in a while. So we went from that to, obviously throughout the show, hyping Cena coming up on SNL this Saturday. But we had a match between Jack Gallagher and Arya Daivari.
Gallagher,
pardon me. And yes, they did make it a point of pronouncing that. So he's Irish by way of the UK. Is that correct for his origin?
I just know UK. I'm not sure. He looks Irish, but I don't know.
Yeah, and the last name. But no, what did you think of the match itself, Matt?
I love his work. For the record, I loved his stuff on 305 a little bit more. They got a little bit more time, obviously. Daivari got a little bit more offense in tonight, I noticed. But Gallagher, his stuff is so original. Like not the stuff he did tonight again, but as a in general, his moves, his moveset, if you will, is so original. And everything he does, talking smack to the guy, acting like, flipping his hair while he's got a guy in a freaking wrist lock. And I think it's entertaining. I do.
You don't think he looks like a vaudevillain?
He absolutely does. No question. Dare I say paler, and he's got somewhat cooler trunks. I wouldn't call him cooler, but somewhat better wrestling gear. He's in better shape. But I don't know. There's something different, much different about him than the vaudevillains once the bell rings. That headbutt, he's vicious as hell. Just the way he works when that bell sounds, he is vicious, and I like it.
Yeah, I just don't. I agree, and I was a big fan of his on the Cruiserweight Classic, but there's just something with this Cruiserweight division on Raw that just is not clicking. And again, the crowd was quiet during this match. It just seems like people, as soon as those purple ropes come out now, they like know not to care, and I just feel like it just dies, right off the bat. There's no heat in any of these matches, and just seems like everyone's waiting for the next thing.
Let me say, just for the record, something I've always said, and people probably will get on me online because I'm a big guy and that's why I'm saying this. No, everyone who knows me knows I'm a fan of cruiserweights. I'm a fan of guys that could do shit that I could never do. Okay? With that said, this goes to show you when fans, general fans that come to a Monday Night Raw or SmackDown taping, and they see these cruiserweights that they don't know for the first time, they're not blown away by them because of one reason. It's the look test. Not a single one of them passed the look test. None of them look like a star. None of them looks like somebody that shouldn't be pumping my gas or changing my oil or cutting my grass or doing my pool. Seriously, they don't look any different physically than the fans. And you guys could, everyone out there that loves, cruiserweights and X Division guys could say, yeah, but, once the bell sounds, they do all these cool moves. And I agree, they normally do. But right now is the proving ground that once their music hits, I've always said you have 3 seconds when you first step out on that stage to make an impact before people turn the channel. Whatever it is that you do, you don't have to do anything on the ramp or anything, but your appearance has got to capture them and suck people in. Physically, it goes a long way to have that, and it goes to show you that diminutive does not do that. You've got to see them over and over and over again before finally, I think people, don't give a crap how small they are, like Daniel Bryan or someone to that effect. Daniel Bryan first walked out on TV. Let's really go back in time and remember what that was like. You guys remember? It wasn't very impressive. The fans were not impressed by him. He was very vanilla to them, very tiny, nothing to write home about. Then he wrestled and then blew the friggin' roof off. But that's my point. None of them passed the look test.
I agree 100% with what you just said, but do you think a lot of it too is there's not that many shades of difference between a cruiserweight match and just a regular match on Raw?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like back in WCW, there was a huge difference between Mysterio and Malenko, and then Luger and the Giant, in the main event. So you had that huge contrast, whereas now it's the matches, it's basically structured the same, laid out the same, maybe except with a couple extra high spots.
I think for the most part, that's true. You're right, because everybody is a lot smaller nowadays. The testing, there's drug testing. There's lots of reasons for that. The business has evolved supposedly into this faster paced style. But I still think you have to have a certain look. Like AJ can be small, come out, and he has a following, so people know who he is, so he gets reaction no matter what. I don't know how to explain it. I really don't. I just know when people come through the channels, no one's stopping at Jack Gallagher when he walks down the ramp.
Right. That's why I think Neville and Austin Aries is like the money program to go to once Aries is able to come back, because I think both those guys, they stand out.
They do.
Well, in the current cruiserweights, I feel like they're losing their swagger a little bit, with the exception of maybe Rich Swann. I mean, I feel like, even TJ Perkins kind of knows that, because that intro was great. I mean, his entrance was fantastic the first couple times, but now it's just kind of, I don't know. It feels like the momentum's there. Like they're caring about it, but they're not having the same they don't come out with that presence that they had originally.
Wait, you thought Perkins had a presence before?
Perkins, the first couple times he came out with that intro,
music, remember?
with the video game music, and the crowd was into it. Come on, the first time you saw that, like that didn't like do anything for you?
Nope.
But there's a segment of the audience that it did, that really connects with that. And I think
it must be theater fans.
Theater, yes. I think because it plays into a very real subgenre of wrestling fan. There's a lot of wrestling fans that love retro video games, so I think it had some good overlap.
Oh my God, move on, Glenn. What are you talking? Let's go.
Hey, I love retro video games, but I'm not going to cheer for someone that's dressed like that.
But what I'm saying is that right now I feel like the guys are out there, like they know. And to your point, Matt, I mean, for the live audience, if having seen live the way they switch those ropes over, like that is a momentum killer. Because you're just sitting there watching the video package, and if you're setting up stuff in the ring for 10 minutes before a match, that sure as hell better be cool. There better be pyro, something better be collapsing, there better be a high spot, and they're not just purple ropes,
You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I think the live audience, I think they lose the live audience every time with that. So let's move on the show and talk a little bit about what we had backstage. We saw Owens and Jericho, more on the deterioration of their relationship, and then the start of a real throwback to the Attitude Era tonight with the Enzo, Rusev, and Lana storyline. Matt, let's sort of just talk about the segment as a whole that built up throughout the night. What did you think of that? I mean, that's one of the most highly produced, furthest away from the venue spots they've done in a while. Definite shades of the Attitude Era. What did you think of the whole thing?
The very first back pre-tape with that, I thought Enzo did a fantastic job. I thought he's got some acting chops. He really did you see when the camera came right back to him? When Lana was doing her thing with throwing the ring on the floor, and it comes back deadpans on Enzo, and his reactions are so perfect. He screams star to me in every sense of the word. No matter there's times they put him in some cheesy stuff, and he can't fix it. Nobody could fix it, but like that was good. I really liked it. I thought he did great.
Yeah, at first I was worried that they were doing another Lana and Rusev breakup angle. With the first segment. After that, it was clear that what was going to happen. But at first it looked like they might be doing another breakup or just teasing it. Like they did with Charlotte and Dana Brooke forever. And then by the end, you could Enzo looked like kind of an idiot when you saw it coming, and he wasn't. But I agree. I thought this was. In many ways, outside of Jericho versus Roman Reigns, I thought this was the best thing on the show.
It was. Are we allowed to talk about like the whole part of like? The only thing I didn't like is Kaz on his cell phone, asking for a cell phone in the middle of the arena. Like that is a little far fetched,
Who memorizes phone numbers nowadays?
I would be screwed. I would be so screwed. Yeah.
Yeah, that part was definitely cheesy. I thought he was going to run to the back. Making calls from the crowd was a little cheesy. But man, Lana, Jesus.
Yeah, smoking, dude.
Yeah, that was insane. It was, that was something definitely from another era that you don't usually really see today. But man, I mean, again, they just keep. Kicking the crap out of Enzo every week. I don't know if this is leading to big Cass at Roadblock or further down, but that's clear. That's the way they're going.
Guys, hang on. Let's really strip this down real quick. Let's really look at this on paper. Did all of that need to go down? Did they really need to set this huge, elaborate Dr. Evil plan? Okay. To lure little ass Enzo and beat him up again for the 55th time in a row. I don't want to look at it like that because I was highly entertained by it, though.
My thing, I wish they'd go a little slower with some of these storylines. I felt like this was something they could have dragged out over a few weeks. Like she invites him next week, and then so you just kind of, even if you know where it's headed, at least it keeps you tuning in.
Yeah,
but within the same episode, she broke up with Rusev and invited him to the hotel and went to the hotel and he met her, all within a couple of hours. So slow it down a little.
But I thought Ric Flair and Enzo was great. I thought that was my favorite segment of the whole thing, just seeing the two of them playing off of each other. And Enzo couldn't do the woo correctly, which was
that threw
really humorous to me. But no, I love that over the development. I agree. It should have been gone on longer. The part that in terms of the storyline, but once they were actually in the hotel, that's where I was like, okay, we all know what's coming here. That's where it just went on a couple beats too long before Rusev popped out. But no, I agree, man. Enzo, like, what's WWE Studios doing putting Wade Barrett in movies, direct to DVD when they got talent like Enzo on their hands? Because I think he I think has the most legitimate potential to break out and do something out of the business, just purely acting.
Well, yeah, they don't want to lose him to the movies right now. You want, because really he benefits them way more being on TV every week than being in one of those crappy movies. Hey man,
that one with Edge, whatever it was called, was that had a twist ending that really validated the 90 minutes I spent watching it. But yeah, tonight that was cool. So here's the funny part though. You mentioned, Raj, is this building up to Cass and Rusev at Roadblock? So here's what we will have in that match is we will have Rusev fighting for Lana's honor and Cass fighting for Enzo's honor, essentially in that showdown at Roadblock. Which, hey, they've done matches over sillier crap, right? It's the WWE. Let's talk tonight about another throwback to a more recent era, and that was Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. I thought they were going to cool off on this for a little longer, but here we came right back to it tonight.
I'll always take it. I don't concur with that. I'll take that every week. I know it's played out. I love those two working each other, though. I just do.
I think they always put on a great match. How did you think it compared tonight to their previous ones?
It's so hard because there's so many good matches between the two. I even go back to ROH. I don't know what I'd rank it if that's what you're asking me. I thought it was very I liked it. I loved it. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I mean, storyline wise, of course, we can pick it apart. But ding ding, once the bell sound wise, I loved it.
Yeah, it was good. I didn't think it was one of their better ones, but I thought even one of their not better ones is still really good. I mean, it was complete filler in the sense that there was no storyline progression. It didn't move anything along. But if you're going to have filler, I'd much rather have this than Mark Henry and Titus and some of the other stuff they got.
What was up with that? I mean, we'll get to that in a couple minutes, but that was interesting, to say the least. So after the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match, which Kevin Owens did win, which I thought was, that was kind of predictable. I think with him being the champ and all, that they needed to do that to maintain the pecking order. So they built up. I'm sorry, Rob?
It's just weird that Sami Zayn's been getting killed every week by Braun Strowman, but then has a super competitive match with the Universal Champion. But I guess that's nitpicking.
Yeah. So they announced backstage that they had Sasha Banks, that she was inviting Ric Flair. Charlotte had invited Ric Flair. And then we went to a second cruiserweight match, Rich Swann versus TJ Perkins. So what did you think of this compared to the first one, Matt?
Same thing. Yeah. I love Swann. I'll keep saying that. I like him. I like what he brings to the table. I love his charisma. But the match itself was the exact same thing.
Why didn't they show that little preview promo package with Rich Swann before he came out? Show it to the crowd so they could get behind the guy. Once he's in the ring, then they show that, because I thought that piece was fantastic and it gets you behind him. But Rich Swann just won the title, came out, and it was just no reaction whatsoever. And TJ Perkins kind of the same thing. But I like those little interview segments that they do. But yeah, the match itself, I agree, Matt. It was kind of the same.
I know we don't want to stick on this too long, but real quick, this is why I've said from day one it's important that the Cruiserweight Championship be on a heel. That's why I was all for Brian Kendrick having the title, because he can go out there and no matter what, he can get booed. He can get on the mic, run his mouth, and get a little bit of heat on him. At least people will at least somewhat boo him. It's a better chance than getting people to cheer a babyface, as we've seen. Swann's got charisma coming out of his ass. I don't know what else, needs to happen for people to kind of react to him. That piece, I could have sworn they've played before. or something along those lines, telling his story about his parents dying and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah. If not that, a very similar one, yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know what's wrong with these people. you know? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, another thing that kind of, back to what I was saying earlier with the cruiserweight matches need to stick out more from the heavyweight ones. I feel like they need to be more fast, more explosive to get over. And you had Rich Swann doing these like rest holds during this match. This isn't helping, your first match as champ. And man, you could hear a pin drop during those.
Yeah, I hate to say it. It does need to be blah 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 blah. That's the only way to make it the show change.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in favor of all spot fest, but have it as spot fest for now until it gets over, until you can start getting some characters over, and then incorporate them.
Yeah.
I will say Rich Swann's that standing flip he did tonight, or that running flip, whatever it was, that was an amazing move tonight. But he's got some great stuff in the ring, but yeah, they're not setting it up correctly, I think, is really the key. And part of it maybe is just they're trying to do too much right now, creatively. Maybe it's just stretched thin. They don't have something to really give the cruiserweight storyline wise. Because we've seen hardship. That's the story of almost every cruiserweight that's held the belt so far, right? It's like TJ Perkins, suffered and struggled a lot. D. Brian Kendrick suffered and struggled a lot. Rich Swann. So basically, adversity. It's like they're just all saying, that they're.
We never get a chance before. We're getting one now. We're taking advantage of it. Yay! Yes.
Yeah. It's like, and you know what it's like? It's like Vince McMahon's a big fan of the movie Rudy, and he's like, they're little guys. Let's just tell that story. And it only works so many times.
But Rudy was told really well.
It was not a dry eye in the theater the first time I saw that. Hell of a film. So something that perhaps not quite as compelling of a storyline tonight. We had Bayley versus Alicia Fox, with the most overt merch plug I think I've seen in ages with the Bayley Bears tonight. That was really interesting how much they were putting that over. But okay, so. Well, I mean, what do you think of this development, Matt, in terms of now that Bayley might be in a storyline going forward for a little bit with Alicia Fox? Like this is Bayley's fate for the time being?
I still think she should have been brought to SmackDown. They don't have any. They just have these two top tier super duper stars, and right down here, the rest of them. When Bayley should be up there with those other two, or at least right slightly below them, I should say. And there's nobody to get her there. Just to get her right half a step below the Charlotte and Banks. You know what I mean? She needs somebody to help get her there in the newer in the fans' eyes that don't watch NXT. The common fan, whatever you want to call it. And Fox ain't the one to do. No offense to her, none of them can do it.
Yeah,
because none of them are big enough stars.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it gives her something to do, I guess, but yeah, it's not helping her. It's just keeping her on TV.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is continuing because she did beat her clean, but as we've seen in the past, a lot of times beating someone, I mean, Rusev beat Enzo clean weeks ago and they still, are going with that. So that never means anything, but gives her something to do. Emma's coming back next week, so maybe they could move it in that direction.
That'd be good.
Yeah, finally, after 2 months of hyping that up, we'll finally see Emma back in the ring. But yeah, it was. I think Bayley just needs something a little bit more at this point to really get up to that next level. And I think Emma would be good. I mean, it can't with Dana. I think there's just been too many botched spots now. To have. I mean, I don't think Dana's on that level. I think they've maybe. Have you heard anything, Raj, that they're not going to push her now?
No, I mean it's clear that they're not.
Yeah.
When was the last time she wrestled on Raw?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So
they see what we all see. So
yes. So speaking of people that haven't wrestled on Raw in a while, we had Mark Henry versus Titus O'Neal. Mark Henry, big pop, Texas boy, homecoming. I would say what you think of the match, Matt, but not much match to think about.
It was what it needed to be. If that match was on TV, that was exactly what should have happened. 10-second match.
So my question with Titus, is this just proof, Matt? Does Vince McMahon really hold a grudge this long against somebody?
I guess so. I don't know. I really don't know. I think if he can make if you can make him money, no.
Yeah.
But if not, and I don't think Vince could be like that anymore. He's got to be too old to give a crap about that type of stuff.
Look at Titus's year, though. You know what I mean? I mean, lost on Father's Day a match in front of his kids, lost on the 4th of July against Rusev. I mean, this was all coming back from suspension. You know, got into a feud with Darren Young. You know, of all people.
You could be right. You know, I don't think about it that way. Honestly, I didn't even know those things you just said. I don't know. You could be right. Maybe Vince still is. I know he used to be. I don't know if he still is like.
And let's remember, before New Day, who held the tag titles, the Primetime Players. So if you were to do a career retrospective of Titus O'Neal over the last year, it is a very, very, this is like the behind the music down period we're witnessing, you know, here of just sort of the descent into complete irrelevance.
Well, you know, it's bad for Titus when they have him win, when they have him lose in the other guy's hometown. I mean, when do they ever let someone win at home? You know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But,
although for Mark Henry, you know.
Yeah, and you know, I thought it was short, so it was, you know, it was fine. If they had a longer match, even though if it went a few minutes, I think I would have had different feelings. But it was fine for what it was. And you know, Mark Henry, Big Show, both on the show tonight. But Big Show says he's retiring at WrestleMania, and Mark Henry has been talking about retirement for years, so they're not around much longer. I still think that they should be put in some sort of feud with somebody to get those guys over. And I don't know with Big Show if it's going to be Braun Strowman or someone like that, but
bet you it is. I'll bet you it is actually. Yep, that is exactly what it is going to be.
Yeah, that'd be good. But per Titus, let me ask you this, Matt, because I'm not sure the answer is so obvious. So when you're on the roster and you're in the Titus O'Neal position of doing these weird little segments and just basically losing in these matches, I mean, what's better? Is that more disheartening than just not being on TV and sitting backstage?
Nope. I'll take being on TV and I'm getting exposure one way or the other. You know, sometimes they say, oh, there's no such thing as bad press. I always argue, yes, there is. But when you're on TV with a character in any form or fashion, you can make of it what you want. You know what I mean? You can make changes. You can do things to improve it. It's, you know what I mean? I think being on TV is always better than not, no matter what it is.
Well, it definitely makes sense. So speaking of people on TV tonight, I don't know if you saw how great Mick Foley and Chris Jericho are looking, but why? Why do they look so good? DDP.
What are they doing?
DDP Yoga, DDPY, man. DDPY has changed countless lives, and many of the past and current roster have benefited immensely from it. You've heard us talk about Jake the Snake Roberts. Oh my God, check out his documentary. DDPY saved that man's life. Scott Hall, Chris Jericho, Mick Foley. Of course, Goldust looks amazing right now. Best shape he's been in quite some time. And so if you've been thinking about taking control of your own health and fitness as we head into 2017, DDPY is having their biggest sale ever. Their Ho 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 holiday sale, which is already underway. So for a limited time, you can get the DDPY DVDs for 25% off, plus 3 months of full access to the DDP Yoga Now app. Or if you're into digital only, you can just get the DDP Yoga Now app for 25% off. You can also buy a max pack or combo pack at 25% off and get a second one for 50% off. So hey, get one for yourself and get one for someone you love, someone who could stand to get on the right track and take control of their health with DDPY. If you've been on the fence about starting, this is the best time to get on board. Head on over to ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. Stop procrastinating and get started now with DDP Yoga. Also want to thank our other sponsor of tonight's episode, which is Slam Crate, powered by Loot Crate. You've heard us talk about it before. Slam Crate is a bi-monthly box for the WWE Universe loaded with exclusive and authentic collectibles, plus apparel that you can't get anywhere else. We're showing it off in last night's podcast, the exclusive Enzo and Cash shirt that was in the first Slam Crate that went out last month. There's also other great stuff handpicked and created by Loot Crate. Each crate contains over $60 in value, and they cost less than $30 to you. So for the cost of a shirt, basically, you're getting a shirt. In the last crate, there was New Day figurines, Sasha Banks sunglasses, Dean Ambrose belt buckle, an NXT patch, Shinsuke Nakamura poster, and my favorite thing, you actually could get your very own Mitch the Plant, Dean Ambrose's sidekick, who met an unfortunate end many months back. You can grow your own, literally, thanks to WWE Slam Crate. So right now, if you sign up, you're going to get in for this next box, which is all about dreams and going big with believing in yourself. They don't disclose what's coming out ahead of time. It's a mystery, but you can think with that theme, we're probably going to see some great stuff in this next Slam Crate. Sign up now, and you're going to save $3 off your first crate when you sign up at lootcrate.com lootcrate.com/wrestlinginc when you sign up and use the coupon code wrestlinginc. That's lootcrate.com/wrestlinginc. Get it for yourself. Get one as a gift. Get it as a gift for yourself. I'm telling you, Slam Crate, powered by Loot Crate, official WWE bi-monthly box. You got to check it out, and we thank them for sponsoring the show. Raj, you were telling me last night that the stuff you got in the first crate just sort of disappeared. All your family wanted in on it immediately.
Yeah, the kids took it right up. So I got a couple things still. They didn't take the Mitch the Plant pot, but they got the New Day stuff and Sasha Banks sunglasses. So I still got a few things.
Yeah, definitely awesome. Definitely a great value. lootcrate.com/Wrestling Inc. And we thank them again for sponsoring the Wrestling Inc. podcast. So let's talk about Chris Jericho versus Roman Reigns tonight for the U.S. title and just how that all went down. It seemed to me, before all the distractions and hijinks there, they did one of those fake finishes again where it seemed like Jericho was going to win it, which would have been shocking. But of course, due to DQ and Kevin Owens being there, well, I guess not DQ, but due to distraction and Kevin Owens being there, Roman ended up retaining the belt. But what did you think of the match itself, Matt, and seeing Jericho and Reigns working together?
Another good outing. Made Reigns look like $1 million again. It's just a holding, everyone knows what this is. It's just a holding pattern right now for Jericho and KO to get into their stuff more. But the match was good. No problem with it.
I actually thought it might have made sense to do the title change here, just because Reigns is in the world title picture. So you kind of have the U.S. belt not doing anything, and at least if you had Jericho win it, then you could have Owens interfere. So it's like he repays him for last week. It's like an apology, and you got a secondary top tier feud with Jericho and Rollins for the U.S. title, and then the world title at top. So I almost feel like they maybe should have went that way. I don't know if the plan is for Reigns to go back to the U.S. title once this program with Owens is done, which it may be, but he could have still gotten back there eventually.
Yeah, what's interesting tonight, Reigns had one of the better audience receptions that I've heard in some time. I mean, right? I mean, people were cheering. I didn't hear any booing. It seemed like, Reigns maybe the audience is at a point of acceptance now, and even being kind of into him by and large. But I thought the match was good.
Yeah.
But I agree. It would be interesting just to change things up a little bit. With Roman going up against Owens, like, I don't know. I mean, do you think they would do something as crazy as to have one guy have 2 belts at this point?
They've done it before. They had Rollins. They had Rollins do it, but I wouldn't. Hey, they might. I mean, you never know with Roman. He usually doesn't come up short that often. So I mean, they could have him lose by DQ and then keep it going into the Rumble. But
yeah, actually, that's a good question. Sort of from a backstage point of view, Matt, is it politically with the other guys? Do people get irked when one guy gets 2 belts because it's another opportunity that's sort of denied everyone else?
Only if you're a friggin' mark.
No, but I mean, come on. Does that matter? I mean, when you're working backstage, I mean, you want to be in title contention, right? I mean, that means more money, more prominence. You're out there doing more for the company, right?
My check read the same no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the heavyweight champion, you have more opportunities because you're the heavyweight champion, and you're going to be doing other outside projects, other appearances, things that you get paid more money to do. But other than
the IC title, even if you go to a children's hospital, sick kids are like, so what? You're the Intercontinental Champion.
Well, for kids, yeah, great. That's awesome. But pay wise, no, does nothing.
Wow.
But when you won like the TNA World Tag Titles, was there any sense of extra joy or yeah?
No, of course, absolutely. My dad was dying of a brain tumor at the time. It was my first major title at the time I'd won. So yes, definitely. We put it on DVD, brought it to the hospital. He had come out of his coma like a week after, and he was able to watch it. It was a great experience. I'll never forget. So absolutely, no question, the little 6-year-old in you is stoked. You finally won some sort of title. But as far as the cheddar goes and pay wise, it doesn't mean anything. No.
I mean, do you even sell more merch? I mean, is there,
Well, sure, fans perceive you as a better wrestler because you're a champion. So yeah, definitely, I could see that. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like you have some sort of bonus check you win because you won the tag titles or the heavyweight championship. Even.
No, that makes sense. Good to know. I see. That's what I'm fascinated about. Just the inner workings and promotion behind it. I don't know if you heard about this, but I guess was it Fox, Raj? I mean, we know that Netflix is doing their '80s ladies wrestling series, but didn't Fox option about 6 months ago doing something in the vein of Empire built around a wrestling promotion? I think it was Fox.
I don't remember that. I just remember Glow, but.
Yeah, it was on Deadline. I'll find the article somewhere. But yeah, I think it's fascinating. I think it would be fascinating to see a very good hour-long drama set behind the scenes at a wrestling promotion.
I think a lot of people are interested in the backstage stuff, but at the same time, these shows they never show like, the scripted dramas never show anything close to
of course.
what backstage is like. With anything, be it football, hip hop, anything like that. You talk to real artists and they'll tell you, that Empire is nothing like what it's really like.
Yeah, it'll be all stunt grannies and rigged chairs, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about what we saw with Big Cass versus Rusev. We covered that match that didn't happen and what went down in the hotel. But we had that weird, I thought it was weird. The number one contenders match tonight with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson versus Cesaro and Sheamus with New Day looking on. And the end result is that at Roadblock, we're going to get another triple threat, this time for the tag titles. So Matt, what did you think of that match tonight? And then that development that it's going to be a 3-way tag match at Roadblock?
Honestly, the tag titles doesn't mean anything to me as a fan. But as do you even call me a journalist? What do we call me? A podcaster?
Pundit?
Yeah,
sure.
Pundit?
Yeah, a pundit works.
But as a pundit, now I would, I don't know. I'd rather not see a 3-way, obviously. But they're they really want to force Sheamus and Cesaro, and wedge them in. Yeah.
So it would be a big deal if they did have the tag titles change next week. Just a day or two before New Day's set to set the record. Yeah. What are the odds you think you see them doing something like that?
Oh.
It would be shocking.
Is the pay-per-view 2 days before it that they break the record?
Yeah. So if they don't lose it Monday, they set it.
Yeah. No, I think they keep it. I do. I think they break the record.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a triple threat next week, and I don't know. I mean, 80% says that they keep the titles and set the record. There is that 20% where every now and then WWE will do something completely unpredictable that you didn't see coming, and that's.
And Raj, whenever they set 3-ways up, not usually, sometimes is to do some form of protecting, right? But this is New Day. They don't get protected at any time.
But what if they do Anderson Gallows or Cesaro and Sheamus beating Anderson Gallows next week? And so the New Day
that's what I mean,
lose the belts without losing actually getting pinned. It would throw a wrench in things. I don't think it's going to happen, but
yeah, it'd be funny.
It would be funny.
Yeah, I
mean, did anybody really know Demolition? I mean, did you guys? I have watched wrestling since '06, but I wouldn't have guessed Demolition.
No,
held the tag titles the longest. I would have guessed, I don't know, Bulldogs or Heart Foundation or I don't know who, but definitely not. I wouldn't have thought, Demolition.
Demolition. This is combined, right? This is their combined 2 title reigns, isn't it?
I thought it was.
Or just a singular.
I thought it was the singular.
Okay. Yeah, I remember them holding the titles forever, but when you were a kid, the titles just didn't change anyway. So, Honky Tonk Man had it for over a year, and Hogan had it forever. So
6 years Hogan had it.
Well, 4 the first time.
Oh, gotcha. So it's combined.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, gotcha.
But I was actually a Demolition Mark when I was a kid. Really? Yep.
I love the music.
Yeah, the music was awesome, and yeah, I don't know. I thought they had great matches too. I thought in the ring a lot of times they were better than the Road Warriors. Like their matches with the Brain Busters were just awesome. The matches they had with the Rockers. I mean, a lot of that had to do with the other team, but they could go. I mean, they could have more matches. But yeah, I was a big fan.
I think what's weird is when they have these matches like tonight where literally New Day is literally just sitting off to the side watching, it just really makes them feel irrelevant to what they're trying to tell story-wise, where it's like, well, we're just going to have them sitting in the audience, just sitting there. You know, I mean, they're going to get involved.
He was streaming on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Oh, much cooler.
You know how they love doing that stuff, like pushing social media and everything.
Which is weird too, because it never matches up. Every time I try and do that, it never is like concurrent with TV correctly. So I'm always either ahead or behind. It's just distracting.
Can I just say, you are the perfect Joe WWE fan, by the way. You are exactly who they want watching the show. You know everything.
I just enjoy what they do. I enjoy being a fan. And maybe that's part of the reason why I like wrestling, is because for me, you know, it's so easy to watch stuff. I mean, like a good example is like Westworld, right? It's a phenomenon. Everyone's talking about it, and you can watch it and you could be cynical and you could be like, oh, well, this is what they're going to do because of that. But when you watch wrestling, there's part of that, but then part of it is that also you can just sort of get in and just feel like a fan. You can genuinely give yourself over to the experience and be surprised when things happen and believe when you want to believe, you know? And I think that there's a very visceral element to that you don't get from a lot of other media, you know?
Dude, I became a wrestler because I was a fan. Who are you trying to convince?
Yeah.
I agree.
Hey, I think wrestling, when it's done right, when the stories are told right, is the funnest thing in the world. So, hey, I agree.
And a big part of it too is because we all started watching it as kids. I think it can give you that feeling again. It can tap into that, which is also very, very powerful.
Definitely that.
So let's talk about this last segment. So Ric Flair was in the building. Charlotte came out, talked a lot. Before she talked a lot, we saw, or I guess in the middle of her talking a lot, we saw the longest recap they played tonight of her telling her father, Ric Flair, off. Ric Flair came out, seemed like she was going to be all emotional and apologize, and then and smacked him. And then Sasha Banks came out to defend Charlotte's father. So I know we've been kind of critical about elements of how they're telling this story, but Matt, did this do anything for you?
No.
Yeah.
No. Don't. I mean, listen. It's so in. The cat's out of the bag as far as Rick loves his daughter, like more than, I'm not gonna say more than any other parent loves their kid, but Rick doesn't shut up about Charlotte. I mean, way before she became a wrestler.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember, God, 4 years before she became a wrestler, Rick was telling me what a volleyball stud she was and what a phenomenal athlete she was, a thoroughbred, and the whole nine. She was backstage at one of her house shows at TNA, I remember. And everybody knows this, you know, that Rick is, same with Charlotte. You know, they're incredibly tight. You know, so anything to the contrary, no matter how good the acting is never, no one's going to buy that. No one is sitting there buying that Ric Flair is really backing Sasha Banks. Not a single person. Do they know the real truth that he kind of mentors all the four horsewomen? Yes. Great. But that's where the extent dies, and it's all about his daughter, that he would get hit by a bus for tomorrow. That's what everybody knows this. You know, I don't know. Charlotte looked like an absolute star tonight, though. Again, Rusev brought this up a while ago. Whenever she's wearing non-wrestling gear, she stands out.
Crowd was not super receptive tonight.
No, a lot of people left before this angle happened. And I will say this was exactly what I expected was going to happen. And so I was hoping that, I thought this was very predictable for anyone, that Charlotte would heel on her dad and Sasha would make the save, and whether whoever gets the upper hand, that's what the angle was. So I was almost hoping that they did something different. And, I thought maybe Flair goes heel again, goes back with Charlotte, because he is back on the road. I can't see him being with Sasha every week. Like what Matt was just saying, it's just so unbelievable. So it almost made sense for him to go back with Charlotte, but she doesn't really need it right now. So ultimately what they did, I thought it was predictable. The women drew great last week. That rating last week was the highest since football started the season. It beat the Goldberg return. So obviously they were going big with the women again this week, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think it was just a predictable way to end the show.
But the beatdown was brutal, was vicious.
Yeah, the beatdown was good.
And when they do this, you guys already know this, but fans out there, I'm not sure if you do. When they come up with these type of things, they come up with the end all be all, which is we need steam back on Charlotte big time, and we need Sasha getting her ass handed to her, and people feel more sympathy for her. How are we going to do that? Okay, Charlotte's going to dismantle and beat the holy smack out of her. How do we get there? And then they put all the pieces in. And then somewhere along the way, they threw in there, hey, let's throw Rick out there and tease that Charlotte's going to want him back. And then,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's another way to keep it going. But the big news tonight is that at Roadblock, we're going to get a 30-minute Iron Man match between the two of them.
Did they say 30 minutes?
I love it.
They said 30 minutes, yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
So that's the big.
You think they changed the title again?
I don't care. I don't care. It is what it is with that. I know we should care more about it, guys, but they have bastardized all of their titles a zillion and one times. So I'm at the point now, I'm 40 years old. I just want to see some good matches. And that's how it is for me as a fan now watching it, I guess. And those two, I'm a huge fan of watching. I can watch them for hours.
Cool. So final thoughts on Raw tonight, Matt, before we get into some other stuff.
Well, we just did an entire hour of thoughts. I am going to give you, I'm going to give you a Raw, rather, a 6.5.
Ooh, interesting. Raj?
I thought it was a pretty weak show after the last few weeks. I thought the last few weeks were really good. I'm going to go with 6.
Wow, 6.
There was some good stuff, like I said, Zayn and Owens and Jericho and Reigns was good. And so was the Lana stuff. So that was enough for.
The pacing had a big to do with this score, by the way.
Yeah. Pacing is the real downfall of Raw. Yep. I feel like if they put the pieces in the right order, it works. And if it's in the wrong order, it just completely falls apart, and I think tonight that was a big part of it. So no, I'll probably lean closer to Matt, probably 6.5 for tonight. But we got a lot of stuff for Roadblock, which is coming up a week from Sunday. They so we got the 30-minute match there. We've got Rollins versus Jericho. We've got Owens versus Reigns. We've got the triple threat for the tag titles. What I think is interesting about Roadblock, is I was like, God, they just did a Roadblock less than a year ago, and I looked it up, and it was March when they did the first Roadblock. Raj, is this the first instance of them doing the same name?
Oh, that's why they're calling it End of the Line, too.
Oh, so it's a companion piece.
Right. It's just, it's like in your house, beware of dogs. So that way.
But there's no theme. That's what they come up with these names. Every pay-per-view should have a theme, or at least a theme match where something happens.
I wish they'd bring back Starrcade. I think that was such a cool name, and a cool pay-per-view title that I don't think you need to have a theme for these. I think they overdo it with the themes, actually. Well, you have so many cool WCT pay-per-view names that you own that you could use you just leave them by the wayside.
Yeah, I don't know. Roadblock, I think they could come up with something for that. But it'll be interesting when that happens.
Someone suggested that they just did End of the Line, and I think End of the Line almost sounds...
End of the Line is a better name than Roadblock is. Especially,
they call it Roadblock.
Yeah.
Oh,
right. No, what were you going to say, Matt?
I think they're calling it. Don't they call it Roadblock because we're one pay-per-view away from being on the road to WrestleMania?
Oh, that's good. The last one was in March, right before.
Yeah, I think we got a few pay-per-views now because I think they got Elimination Chambers back, and then there was one more that I think they have before WrestleMania. So one's a SmackDown, one's a Raw, and then you got the Royal Rumble.
So that'll be interesting with the Elimination Chamber coming back. So one question we had from last night that Cody Baker in the chat brought up, we wanted to ask you, Matt, because we were talking about TLC last night and how they dropped the and stairs, but we wanted to ask about those steel stairs that you always hear people freaking out about when people are slammed into them. I mean, they hurt.
It hurts like a mother Fletcher. Yes.
Even with the thump, even with the noise. Interesting.
Hell yes. Dude, when you see Brock Lesnar pick it up once and throw it like nothing over the top rope, that's because he is a friggin' freak. He's super strong. That thing is heavy, and I don't know, it's got to be at least 60, 70 pounds. And
when you're slammed into it, though, I mean, that
it hurts like, oh my God, it kills. There's nothing that feels good about that. I'm talking about when a guy shoots you off into it, and the guys somehow they're flipping their backs into it nowadays. I guess the guys are small enough to do that. I could never do it. But I'd always take it shoulder first, and I'd always be worried that, I'd tear a rotator cuff or something like that doing it. But you got to tackle it as hard as you can. You've got to blast that thing to make sure it goes flying. John Cena takes them really good. Watch John Cena take them. Yeah. He does like a foreign football tackle. He puts his whole everything into it, and it goes flying every time. Because if you don't, that's when you can get hurt.
Matt, I had a question for you. This was something we discussed last night too with AJ Styles. Were you there? You were there right when he left TNA a few years ago? Yeah. What was the
Actually, I left right before him. I take that back. I left right before him.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. I knew it was around that time.
What's up, though? I was still.
But the fact that they wouldn't sign Styles then, was the feeling in the locker room basically like, okay, they're not going to sign any TNA guys at all, like that's
there was a feeling that there was no loyalty. A lot of the TNA originals didn't feel there was that loyalty being paid back to them that they were giving to TNA. A lot of them could have gone to NXT earlier, could have gone other places in Japan, indie shows for that matter. A lot of them missed a lot of indie paydays where they're the star of the show and they get paid maybe even more money than what TNA was probably giving them at the time. To do TNA pay-per-views, to be in contract with them. So they felt they were being loyal. The Roots, the Storms, Joe, AJ, and Eric Young, Kazarian, Daniels. Rightfully so. They built that company from, almost brick by brick.
Right, but did they get – oh, sorry, go ahead.
When you have a contract come up, you friggin' sign your top-tier dog out of all those people. And when he wasn't signed, I mean, a lot of people were obviously shocked and surprised, but they weren't surprised at the same time because of they felt the loyalty wasn't given back when it came to finances from TNA.
No, what I meant was, were they surprised that WWE wouldn't sign AJ? Because then it's like, oh damn, like that. This is pretty much it. If we don't stay with TNA, it's like the Indies or ROH. I mean, all of a sudden the options must have just really seemed like it shrunk down when WWE wouldn't take AJ back then.
Well, back then, if you remember, it wasn't that they wouldn't take him. It wasn't like put out there. It was if you just came out of TNA, Hunter didn't want anybody, post TNA until you had that funk off of you. That's literally. I was told the same damn thing, quite honestly. And I was going to come back at the Rumble. It would have been 6 months. I don't know how the funk would have gotten off me that fast, but I digress. Anyways, it was never said like, hey, AJ Styles is not going to be signed by WWE, because it was more, he went to Japan, blew it up, and he would put it out there. If you guys remember, AJ would put it out there like, well, nobody's really called me from WWE yet. I don't know what I got to do to get a job, kind of a thing. But eventually time passed and he did get signed. But to those guys, the Rudes and the Storms, I'm sure they were probably like, holy crap, like, why wouldn't they want it? You know what I mean? We built the name somewhere else. Why would you not want to bring us in? Because at the time, Hunter was just starting NXT, and it made sense from his perspective. It totally did. He was building up his own brand, his own stars from the ground up still. So why would he want to take somebody from another organization and kind of get credit for building them? Yeah, I would do the same damn thing. I'd want all the credit for building my talent, no matter who else was out there. Until the time comes when you need to replenish that talent because that talent has gone over and got on TV. And I think that's what happened. And I think he was able to, I think it worked out beautifully. He's taken Joe and all these other guys. Owens, all these other guys, Finn Balor, and Reza just completely flipped their career around, a complete 180 in a much larger direction. So I think he probably learned something in that too. That just because somebody went out and made a name for themselves, whether it's in a bingo hole or a crappy indie company or a Ring of Honor or a TNA, even for that matter, you could still come to WWE. We could still teach you the WWE brand, the WWE way, and we could fine tune some things and make you a brand new version of yourself. And that was, I agree with them.
What do you think is going through Samoa Joe and Bobby Roode and their minds right now when they're seeing James Ellsworth wrestling in the main event of SmackDown every week?
What any wrestler should see that's a very short-term thing that you can't go out and buy a house with. You can't pick your family up and move to Houston or Orlando or something like that, because that's not a for sure thing.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap what his contract is. It's a bottom tier contract where I would guarantee you he makes probably, I'm guessing 52, which is pretty damn good money for James Ellsworth, let's be honest. I'm guessing anywhere between 50 and 75, which is being very
that
nice.
Low? Really?
Guaranteed downside.
Oh, gotcha. Because I was gonna say that's like NXT, like barely above the bottom rung money.
It's more than he was making on the indies.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. But yeah, I guess that would make sense how politically people would see it inside as sort of a very short-lived situation. Enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, Joe's not sitting there going, "Oh crap, that should be my spot." Joe's going, like we all are probably. Storyline wise, like, ugh, this guy again.
Come on,
but not like this guy's in my spot. I could be taking up that time. Joe's got to be thinking, I'm a mother effing star. I want that Kevin Owens spot. I want that John Cena spot. I want that AJ.
I think it shows how desperately they need him too.
Yeah,
I think so too. I think he needs to be on TV with Nakamura like yesterday.
Yeah.
So you weren't backstage just going like, man, that's Zach Gowen. I'll cut off a leg. Just give me that airtime.
There were some. Yes, there were. There were some. I remember some cruiserweights. I'm not gonna mention any names. They were OVW at the time, and that was an actual real thing. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, with Ellsworth, I'm amazed. Like, and it's so absurd that I'm just rolling with it at this point with how much they're pushing him. But he's selling merch, right? I mean, I
would love the carbon footprint of him in real life.
I'm sure he's a great guy, but man, yeesh.
It'd be really. Ugh. Get off my TV.
Well, on that note, anything else we need to cover, Raj?
I think we got it all.
Cool, man. So thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Raj and I will be back on Wednesday to talk about SmackDown Live and the fallout from tables, ladders, and chairs. I'm sure we'll have some great things to say about Ellsworth's title match with AJ Styles that's happening on SmackDown Live tomorrow night. So be sure to join us back here for that. If you like the show, subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review and a rating. Matt, you want to plug anything before we leave here?
I would like to plug Sim Solutions. It's AJ Sims. He's a guy that is a friend of mine and is now working on my diet for my upcoming classic men's physique show, which I have 4 months to get my big ass bigger and then cut up and shredded for, and he's going to help guide me there. So AJ Sims of Sim Solutions. Check him out, simsolutions.com.
Simsolutions.com. Raj, anything people should look for on the site?
Just busy couple weeks, so keep checking it out.
Cool, guys. And so next week for Raw is the tribute to the troops, right? Is that correct?
No. That's after.
Is that the week after?
No. I think it's airing next week, but it's not in place of Raw.
Not in place of Raw. Okay, good. So that's good to know from a program point of view. And then I saw tonight WWE Week is coming up on the USA Network, so that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that's the same week. I think we'll have the schedule up on the site, but one night we got Raw, SmackDown, tribute to the troops. And
the show Santa's Little Helper again?
Santa's Little Helper, all that stuff.
Yeah. What was with Enzo Cass and Mick Foley doing the Sing movie ad tonight? That was like a branch out. Did you guys catch that?
Yes, I did. I tried to fast forward through it, but it carried those 2 guys anymore with stupid outside things.
Do they give you extra money for that if you do?
No.
So you're just an indentured servant at that point, and they'll just send you to opening of a car wash?
Was it a USA ad?
I think it was a USA ad.
Yes.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yes.
Good for them. Mick Foley can get his wife some more of those creepy porcelain dolls. She seems.
Wait, they don't get paid more for doing the USA Network spots. You mean like if they were guesting on the show?
It was an ad for a movie.
No, it was an ad where they did a specific skit. They were definitely paid something.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I thought that's part of the. I think that's part of their deal with the, like they do those for USA. I don't think. Okay.
Check out the spot. It was different.
A wrestler's contract reads it differently.
Yeah, it was a different, and this wasn't even like their Sonic commercial they did backstage. Like this was they filmed this. They shot something for it. It was
they don't get paid jack for. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool, man. We learn more all the time. Matt Morgan, you're a fantastic resource. Thanks for being a part of this podcast. I feel like I learn something every week, and I know our audience does as well. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and until next time, I'm Glenn Rubenstein, and I'll see you back here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.